The morning mist clings to the imperial palace grounds like a funeral shroud. It's 6 a.m. on August 7th, 1945, and Tokyo awakens to a world that changed overnight, though most don't know it yet. In a dimly lit briefing room deep within the government complex, Dr. Yoshio Nishina stands before a table scattered with urgent telegrams and radio transcripts. At 55, he carries himself with the quiet authority of Japan's most respected nuclear physicist. His weathered hands, which once built the nation's first cyclotron, now tremble slightly as he reads the impossible reports from Hiroshima. "One bomb," he whispers to himself, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses. They claim one bomb destroyed an entire city. Around the mahogany table, military officials in crisp uniforms lean forward with expressions ranging from skepticism to outright dismissal. The Atomic Bomb Countermeasures Committee, representatives from the War, Navy, and Home Ministries, have gathered for one purpose: to debunk what they believe is American propaganda. Professor Nishina, Lieutenant General Seizo Arisue's voice cuts through the morning stillness. "You've spent years studying atomic theory. Tell these gentlemen what you told me yesterday, that atomic weapons remain science fiction." But Nishina doesn't answer immediately. His mind races back to conversations with Niels Bohr in Copenhagen, to calculations scribbled on blackboards at his Riken laboratory, to the bitter realization that Japan's own atomic program, the NIGO project, was still years away from success. He had concluded just months earlier that atomic bombs were theoretically possible, but technically unfeasible with current technology. Yet here, spread across official reports, are descriptions that make his blood run cold. Witnesses speak of a flash brighter than the sun, of a mushroom-shaped cloud rising 40,000 feet into the sky, of destruction unlike anything conventional explosives could achieve. "The Americans are clever propagandists," Admiral Mitsumasa Yonai declares, lighting a cigarette with shaking fingers. "They want us to believe they possess some mythical superweapon." Nishina looks up from the reports, his face pale in the fluorescent light. For a man who has dedicated his life to unlocking the secrets of the atom, this moment carries unbearable weight. If these reports are true, if America has actually succeeded where Japan failed, then everything changes. Not just the war, but the very nature of human conflict. "Gentlemen," Nishina's voice is barely audible, "I must see Hiroshima myself." The room falls silent except for the tick of an antique clock on the wall. Outside, Tokyo continues its morning routine, unaware that one of their greatest scientists is about to embark on a journey that will confirm humanity's entry into the atomic age. What happens when the one man capable of distinguishing scientific fact from fiction discovers that his worst nightmares have become devastating reality? The investigation team assembles like characters in a dark drama, each carrying their own expectations and fears. Lieutenant General Arisue leads the group with military precision, but his confidence masks deep anxiety. Alongside Nishina, 6 other specialists prepare for what they assume will be a routine debunking mission. As their train pulls away from Tokyo Station, Nishina stares out the window at a Japan he barely recognizes. 4 years of war have transformed his homeland into a shadow of its former self. Cities lie in ruins from conventional bombing. Food is scarce. The people move with the weary determination of a nation pushed beyond its limits. But this mission isn't about Japan's suffering. It's about the possibility that suffering has taken an unimaginable new form. "Professor," Major General Nobuji sits across from Nishina, his uniform impeccable despite the chaos around them. "Help me understand your atomic research. You've spent years on the NIGO project. If atomic weapons were possible, wouldn't Japan have built them first?" Nishina's laugh is bitter. "Major, you once asked me why we couldn't simply use 10 kilograms of conventional explosives instead of uranium. You called my atomic research nonsense. The memory hangs between them like smoke. Japan's atomic program had been a study in frustration and limited resources. While Nishina and his team understood the theoretical possibilities, they lacked the massive industrial infrastructure required for uranium enrichment. Their thermal diffusion apparatus at Riken was destroyed by Allied bombing in April, a loss that effectively ended Japan's nuclear ambitions. The Americans have resources we could never dream of, Nishina continues, his voice dropping to a whisper. If they've truly built an atomic bomb, it represents an industrial achievement of staggering proportions. As the train rumbles southward, each mile brings them closer to answers none of them want to find. The other passengers, mostly refugees and military personnel, speak in hushed tones about strange reports from Hiroshima. Communications with the city ceased abruptly yesterday morning. Radio operators received only static, where once there had been constant chatter. Through the window, Nishina watches the landscape change from the familiar suburbs of Tokyo to increasingly rural terrain. The late summer heat shimmers off rice paddies, and farmers pause in their work to watch the train pass. These people have no idea that their nation may have just witnessed the dawn of a new era in human warfare. "Sir," a young aide approaches with a telegram. "Latest reports from our reconnaissance aircraft." Arisu reads the message, his face darkening. They confirm massive destruction, but the pattern is unusual. No crater, no scattered debris field, just a perfect circle of devastation with the most severe damage at the center. Nishina's pulse quickens. This matches theoretical predictions for an atomic blast. The energy released from nuclear fission would create exactly this pattern. Unlike conventional explosives that detonate on impact, creating craters and linear damage, an atomic bomb detonated in the air would produce a sphere of destruction. The train begins to slow as they approach the Hiroshima region. What should be a bustling approach to a major city reveals itself as an eerie void. No smoke from factory chimneys, no movement on parallel tracks, no radio chatter from the locomotive. Then the smell hits them. It seeps through the train windows despite their being closed. An acrid electrical odor unlike anything Nishina has experienced. It's not the familiar stench of conventional explosives or burning wood. This is something new, something that makes his skin crawl with scientific dread. "My God," whispers one of the team members, covering his nose with a handkerchief. As the train rounds a final curve, Hiroshima comes into view, or rather, what remains of it. Where once stood a city of 350,000 people, now stretches a wasteland of flattened debris extending to the horizon. At the center, where the downtown district once bustled with activity, absolutely nothing stands higher than a few feet. Nishina presses his face to the window, his scientific mind automatically cataloging what he sees. The destruction extends in a perfect radius from a central point. Buildings on the periphery lean outward, as if pushed by an enormous force emanating from the center. Most telling of all, there are no bomb craters, just the characteristic pattern of an aerial burst. "Professor," Arisu's voice is barely controlled, Is this what an atomic explosion would look like?" Nishina cannot speak. His throat constricts as the implications crash over him like a tsunami. If this is an atomic bomb, then America has not only achieved nuclear fission, they've weaponized it with devastating efficiency. The theoretical has become horrifyingly real. As the train shudders to a stop at what remains of Hiroshima Station, Nishina realizes that everything he thought he knew about nuclear physics, about warfare, about the future of humanity, is about to be rewritten. The investigation that will confirm Japan's worst fears is about to begin. August 8, 1945, 7:30 a.m. The investigation team stands at the edge of Ground Zero, and the silence is deafening. Nishina has witnessed destruction before. the aftermath of conventional bombing raids, the rubble of cities torn apart by incendiary attacks. But this is different. This is the landscape of a scientific nightmare made real. He pulls his Geiger counter from its protective case, hands steady despite the magnitude of what he's about to discover. The device, one of only a few in Japan, will provide the definitive answer to the question that has haunted him since yesterday morning. Click, 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 click. The radiation readings climb steadily as they move toward the hypocenter. This isn't the background radiation naturally present in the environment. This is the signature of nuclear fission, proof that atomic nuclei have been split apart, releasing energy that defies conventional understanding. Sir, one of his assistants points toward what remains of Dr. Shima's clinic, now just a shadow of twisted metal. The damage patterns here, they're unlike anything we've documented. Nishina approaches methodically, his scientific training overriding the emotional shock. He measures temperatures, examines blast patterns, documents the curious absence of crater damage that would indicate a conventional explosion. Every piece of evidence points to the same impossible conclusion. The buildings haven't been blown apart. They've been vaporized. Steel beams twist in directions that suggest forces far beyond any explosive device Japan has encountered. Glass has melted and reformed into strange, flowing shapes. Most disturbing of all are the shadows. Human silhouettes burned permanently into concrete walls, marking the final moments of lives ended by forces beyond imagination. Professor Nishina, General Arisue's voice carries a tremor that wasn't there yesterday. What are your preliminary findings? Nishina kneels beside a section of concrete where the shadow of a woman carrying a child is etched in stark relief. The mother had been walking to work when the flash occurred. In one instant, temperatures reached 6,000 degrees Celsius, hot enough to vaporize human tissue while leaving shadows as permanent reminders of their existence. His hands shake as he takes measurements. The Geiger counter confirms what his heart already knows: residual radiation levels consistent with nuclear fission. The Americans haven't just built an atomic bomb, they've perfected it beyond anything Japan's scientists imagined possible. General, Nishina's voice cracks as he speaks, this is the work of nuclear fission. The Americans have successfully weaponized atomic energy. The words hang in the air like a death sentence. Around them, the investigation team falls silent, each man grappling with the implications. Japan's own atomic program, already years behind schedule and crippled by resource shortages, has been rendered obsolete overnight. As they move through the devastation, survivors emerge from makeshift shelters. Their testimonies paint a picture of destruction that defies human comprehension. They speak of a flash brighter than the sun, followed by a heat wave that ignited everything combustible within miles. They describe people simply vanishing, not killed by conventional means, but eliminated so completely that only shadows remain. Nishina interviews a physicist from Hiroshima University who witnessed the explosion from several miles away. Professor, the man whispers, his face bearing radiation burns. I saw the mushroom cloud form. It rose 40,000 feet into the sky, exactly as our theoretical models predicted for an atomic explosion. The weight of confirmation settles on Nishina's shoulders like lead. He thinks of his laboratory at Riken, of the cyclotron he built with such pride, of the years spent pursuing atomic research in the name of scientific advancement. All of it pales before this demonstration of atomic power turned to destructive purpose. That evening, in a damaged building serving as temporary headquarters, Nishina sits alone with a sheet of paper. The official report must be written, but first, he writes a personal letter to a colleague. If the Americans had actually dropped an atomic bomb, it was time those involved in the Japanese bomb program, including himself, should commit harakiri. The words flow from his pen with devastating clarity. This isn't merely professional failure. It's the complete collapse of his worldview. He had spent his career unlocking the secrets of atomic energy, believing that scientific advancement would benefit humanity. Now he confronts the ultimate expression of that knowledge as an instrument of unprecedented destruction. The contemplation of suicide reflects more than personal shame. It represents the psychological devastation of witnessing theoretical physics transformed into mass destruction. Nishina realizes that he, along with atomic scientists worldwide, bears responsibility for opening Pandora's box. As he writes, reports arrive of similar destruction in Nagasaki. A second atomic bomb, dropped just 3 days later, confirms that America possesses not one experimental weapon, but an arsenal of atomic bombs ready for immediate deployment. Their character, he writes in another letter, exceeded the level of our character. This isn't merely about scientific achievement. It's about the willingness to use such devastating power. American scientists had not only solved the technical challenges of nuclear fission, they had overcome the moral obstacles to deploying it against civilian populations. The investigation continues for 3 more days, but Nishina already knows what his final report will conclude. Every measurement, every witness testimony, every piece of physical evidence confirms the unthinkable. America has successfully weaponized atomic energy with devastating efficiency. On August 12th, as he prepares to return to Tokyo, Nishina takes one final look at the ruins of Hiroshima. Where 350,000 people once lived and worked, now stretches a wasteland that will serve as humanity's first glimpse into the atomic age. The theoretical has become terrifyingly real, and the world will never be the same. His official report, delivered to Emperor Hirohito himself, will become one of the crucial factors in Japan's decision to surrender. The man who spent years trying to harness atomic energy for Japan now finds himself delivering the scientific confirmation that ends the war. As their train pulls away from the devastation, Nishina understands that he has witnessed more than military defeat. He has seen the future of human conflict, and it terrifies him beyond measure. The atomic age has begun, confirmed by a Japanese physicist's reluctant testimony to power beyond imagination. Dr. Yoshio Nishina returns to Tokyo a changed man. The confident physicist who left the capital 3 days earlier has been replaced by someone who understands the true cost of scientific achievement. His official report, delivered directly to Emperor Hirohito on August 13th, carries a weight that extends far beyond military intelligence. Your Majesty, Nishina's voice is steady but hollow as he presents his findings to the Japanese leadership. The Americans have successfully weaponized atomic fission. What we witnessed in Hiroshima represents a fundamental shift in the nature of warfare itself. The Emperor listens in silence as Nishina describes radiation measurements, blast patterns, and the systematic vaporization of an entire city. Each technical detail hammers home a single, devastating truth. Japan faces an enemy with unlimited destructive power. Foreign Minister Shigenori Togo later recalls the meeting. When Nishina confirmed that the Americans possessed atomic weapons, the Emperor's face became ashen. We all understood that continuation of the war had become impossible. 3 days later, Nagasaki falls to a second atomic bomb. The message is unmistakable. America doesn't possess one experimental weapon, but an entire arsenal ready for deployment. On August 15th, 1945, Emperor Hirohito announces Japan's surrender, citing a new and most cruel bomb that threatens the total extinction of human civilization. Nishina's scientific confirmation has helped end the bloodiest conflict in human history, but the victory feels hollow. The man who dedicated his life to unlocking atomic secrets now confronts their ultimate expression as instruments of mass destruction. In the months following Japan's surrender, Nishina attempts to rebuild his shattered laboratory at Riken. American occupation forces, recognizing his expertise, initially permit him to continue nuclear research for peaceful purposes. But in November 1945, orders arrive from Washington. All Japanese cyclotrons must be destroyed. Nishina watches in silence as American soldiers dismantle his life's work and dump the pieces into Tokyo Bay. The symbolic destruction of Japan's nuclear capabilities marks the end of one era and the beginning of another, one in which atomic power remains the exclusive domain of its creators. "We opened the door to atomic energy," Nishina writes to a colleague in 1946, "but the Americans walked through first. Now, we must live with the consequences of discoveries we all helped make possible." The psychological toll of his Hiroshima investigation never fully heals. Nishina continues his research in theoretical physics, but colleagues notice a fundamental change in his approach. The enthusiastic pursuit of atomic secrets gives way to cautious consideration of scientific responsibility. When the Soviet Union conducts its first atomic test in 1949, Nishina understands immediately that the nuclear age has entered a new phase. The monopoly that ended World War II has become a competition that could end civilization itself. In his final years, Nishina becomes an advocate for the peaceful application of atomic energy. He helps establish Japan's nuclear research program, focusing exclusively on power generation and medical applications. The man who confirmed humanity's entry into the atomic age dedicates his remaining years to ensuring that nuclear technology serves constructive rather than destructive purposes. Today, as global nuclear tensions rise once again, Nishina's story serves as a sobering reminder of how quickly theoretical possibilities can become devastating realities. The gap between scientific breakthrough and military application proved far shorter than anyone anticipated in 1945. Modern scientists working on artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and quantum computing might consider Nishina's experience as they push the boundaries of human knowledge. The same intellectual curiosity that drives scientific advancement can produce discoveries with consequences beyond imagination. In August 2025, 80 years after Hiroshima, the world possesses over 13,000 nuclear weapons, each far more powerful than the bombs that ended World War II. The atomic age that began with Nishina's reluctant confirmation has evolved into a permanent feature of human existence. Perhaps most troubling is the realization that emerged from Nishina's investigation. America's nuclear secrecy was so effective that even Japan's leading atomic physicist couldn't believe what had become possible. In our current era of classified research and technological competition, what other scientific surprises await discovery? The physicist who had to tell Japan it was all real reminds us that the distance between theoretical possibility and practical application continues to shrink. In 1945, that realization came with the flash of atomic fire over Hiroshima. Today, it may come with developments we haven't yet imagined. Dr. Yoshio Nishina died in 1951, 6 years after confirming humanity's entry into the atomic age. His legacy serves as both a testament to scientific achievement and a warning about the responsibilities that come with unlocking nature's most fundamental secrets. The truth he discovered in Hiroshima's ruins continues to shape our world 8 decades later.